maintaining and strengthening professional jurisdiction for the preparation of teachers. In this module, we will be discussing what are the demarcations and the boundaries in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the behaviors, in terms of the disposition, in terms of the performance, in terms of the values. What are the jurisdiction? What are the boundaries for the maintaining and strengthening the professionalism? Basically, the literature in this regard says that the professionalism basically is based on different elements, and the elements are the knowledge, work, and the professional practice. On these three elements, you can rate the teachers, either this is the best one or the lowest one in terms of his competencies or the professionalism. That one is from the knowledge of the teachers. But how to measure the knowledge of teacher, how to quantify the knowledge of the teachers, this is separate thing. But it is important element of maintaining and strengthening the professionalism of the teachers. And other is work, where he or she works, what are the challenges of the workplace, and what type of expectations the students and the stakeholders have, and what are the competencies and the potential the individual teacher is possessing. And the third one is professional practice. What is the basic qualification, strengths of the concerned teachers in the professional practice, because it depends upon what kind of the innate capabilities the teacher possesses, or what kind of the competencies and the qualifications and the knowledge, etc., the teacher is acquiring. At one hand, what he possesses and what he is acquiring from the trainings, from the environment, from his own professional endeavors and the efforts. So one reason for this interest is the potential of new information and communication technologies. As we know that the ICTs have revolutionized every aspect of the life, in terms of the technology, in terms of the politics, in terms of your social life, in terms of your professional aspects, because with the one click of the digit of one click to the digital device, you have an information repository and variety of the interactions or interventions are there available for the improvement of your aspect. And the impact, ICT's impact is on the traditional way of the working. You can't work in the traditional way in the age of the technology. And the competence of the professional groups. And because the more you are competent in your aspect, in your professional field, and how much you are competent in ICTs, that also matters. And the important aspect is knowing and practice literature. And for knowing and practice, and how to know the practice, what kind of the knowledge is there in the practice, and what is the practice literature. And this is based on the different forms: methods of talking and reasoning and acting. And this perspective is based on three aspects, mainly on the sociology. For example, if you go back this slide, see method of talking. What is the way of this what is the sociological approach of way of the talking? This is the mediocre group, this is higher group, this is the lower group, it is elite class, how to deal with this. So one is a sociological approach, and other is anthropological approach, and third is ethno methodology in drawing or in understanding the strengthening of the professionalism. It is not as just a cognitive process and the conceptual structures. It basically focuses on the situatedness rather you can say it is the pragmatist approach. For that you have to know the to focus, to keep in mind the context of knowing for what you are going to know, and why you are going to learn, and why the learning is happening, why the learning is expected, what kind of the learning is there, innovation and the working, what kind of the innovation and what kind of the working is there. And it again depends and the focus is on social engagements, and social engagements, that in what way this type of the learning, this type of the actions are possible. It depends in which social engagement are. For example, if you are in the informal discussion at the dinner table, and your formal meeting in your office, this social engagement, how you engage the people, it has different impacts, it has different ways of understanding the things and the material settings, in which setting, physical setting you are working. Roots of the concept of the practice. Basically, the concept of the practice is based on the work of Garfunkel and Hiddens and the Borgio. So these are the educational expert in the sociological perspectives. They have given very landmark type of the work in the sociology of education and the theory of the sociology of education. And when we talk about the sociological roots in terms of different sociologists, and we will go back to the Aristotle in particular, as far as the social theory about education, social theory of professionalism, and thereby. And the common goals of the concept of the practices. What are the common goals? They have a different aspect. One is common goal is action and structure. This is based on the action and structures. What is the action? What is the result of this action? What is the structure of this activity? And the human and non-human, where we have to deal, how to have to deal in case of the human, in case of the non-human. What are the impacts and what are the ways of dealing with the body, means physical, and the mind, which cognitivism, and the body here means the behaviorism. So these aspects has very big role in the practice, as a practice for professionalism and professional, as a professional practice. And what type of the individual questions individual actions. Every action is to be measured with proper parameters. Different concept of the practices. There we know the different sociologists have they given different concepts, and they are practices. They say that the practices are commonly defined as an array of the activities. How number of the activities. The practices are based on different activities. For example, my religious practices. It is based on different activities. I recite Holy Quran. I offer prayers. I fast. I manage zakat. So these are the list of the activities that make my religious practice. And if we talk about my professional practice, what kind of preparations, what kind of my commitments I fulfill, and how I deliver, how I make the people satisfied, how I put my efforts, and what are those things tangible or visible to and have direct impact. And the practices are defined as ways of doing things together. And I have been mentioning time and again this the professional activities are collective approach based practice based studies. They deal with the working practices, technology, and interaction. These elements are very fundamental of understanding the practice based studies. logic of the practices. Why need of the practice? Why we conduct the practices? What is the importance of the practices? It basically depends on the tacit knowledge. It mostly focuses on the tacit knowledge. Practice cannot be measured without having what kind of the tacit knowledge I have in my mind. That has to be described or disclosed, or one has to dive into one's behavior and the minds, and after diving one has to explore what is really in the mind, and that has to be related with the practice. It is really compatible what I am practices with what I am possessing in my mind. And the in methodological terms, to conceptualize the knowledge in practice may be defined as, for example, what is my knowledge and what is my practice. It is situated accomplishment, what kind of the situation in which I am working, and what kind of the accomplishments I am making, that accommodates a full range of the practical resources. That depends. These are both indicators that design or that give the structure of the practices, and interactional forms according to the logic of the practice at hand. How I practice, how I interact, how I give the respect, how I reciprocate with the others. So this gives the formation or the format of my practices.